Welcome to Go Readling Bedtime Stories, presented by GoReadling.com, personalized education and reading skills for kids. Subscribe now so you don't miss our daily bedtime stories. Find a comfortable spot, close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath, and let our story carry you gently off to sleep. Tonight's story is called The 12 Dancing Princesses. Once upon a time, in a land far away, nestled behind rolling hills and whispering willow trees, lived a good king who had 12 beautiful daughters. These princesses were known throughout the kingdom, not just for their grace and lovely smiles, but for a most peculiar mystery that puzzled everyone from the royal cooks to the wise old advisors. You see, every single morning, without fail, when the sun peeked over the horizon and painted the castle walls with golden light, the princesses' delicate dancing shoes were found to be completely worn out, their silky ribbons frayed, and their soles thin as paper. It was as if they had danced all night long, twirling and leaping with joyful abandon, yet no one had ever seen them leave their grand, comfortable beds, nor heard a single peep of music or laughter during the quiet hours of the night. The king, a kind but very puzzled man, wondered endlessly about this strange secret, for he loved his daughters dearly and wished to understand their nighttime adventures, if only to ensure they were safe and sound. The mystery cast a soft, curious shadow over the entire castle, making everyone whisper and wonder what magic might be at play. The king, in his deep longing to uncover the truth, made a grand proclamation, echoing through the cobbled courtyards and across the sleepy kingdom. He announced that anyone, brave and clever enough to discover where his 12 daughters danced each night, would be richly rewarded. The prize was truly magnificent: his kingdom, with its sparkling rivers and fertile fields, and the hand of one of his beautiful daughters in marriage, whichever she might choose. But there was also a solemn condition, a serious part to this grand challenge. The brave seeker would have 3 days and 3 nights to unravel the mystery. If they failed to discover the secret within that time, they would face a very sad fate, for their life would be forfeit. This stern warning hung in the air, a reminder of the difficult task ahead. Many princes, handsome and bold, came from distant lands, drawn by the promise of adventure and reward, but one by one they tried and failed, disappearing as mysteriously as the princesses' worn-out shoes, their dreams of glory fading into the soft mists of morning. The castle grounds, once bustling with hopeful young noblemen, grew quiet as the days passed, and the king began to lose hope that the mystery would ever be solved. The princesses, meanwhile, continued their nightly escapades, their worn shoes a silent testament to their secret joys. Then, one day, an old soldier, with kind eyes and a weary but determined spirit, arrived at the castle gates. He had traveled far and wide, seen many things, and heard tales of the king's peculiar problem. Though he was not a prince, he felt a quiet resolve stirring within his heart, a gentle nudge to try his luck where others had failed. As he walked toward the grand entrance, his worn boots crunching softly on the gravel path, he encountered a very old woman, her face wrinkled like a friendly apple, sitting by the roadside. She looked up at him with knowing eyes, a soft smile gracing her lips, and offered him a piece of advice that would prove to be truly precious. The old woman, her voice a soft rustling sound like dry leaves, spoke to the soldier with gentle wisdom. "My dear man," she began, her gaze steady and kind, "if you truly wish to uncover the princess's secret, you must be very careful. When they offer you a cup of wine before you sleep, do not drink it. It is a sleeping draught, meant to make you slumber deeply so they can slip away unseen." Her words were a soft warning, a beacon of light in the soldier's quest. She also offered him a special gift, a cloak woven with invisible threads, whispering that it would make him disappear from sight whenever he wore it. "This will help you follow them without being seen," she explained, her fingers tracing the soft fabric. The soldier, grateful for her kindness and foresight, thanked her profusely, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. He understood the gravity of her advice and knew that this invisible cloak would be his most valuable tool. With these precious gifts, the warning and the cloak, he felt a quiet strength bloom in his heart, ready to face the mystery that lay hidden within the castle walls. Armed with the old woman's wise counsel and the wondrous invisible cloak tucked safely under his arm, the soldier presented himself before the king. He explained his intention to solve the mystery of the dancing princesses, his voice calm and steady, despite the challenge he was undertaking. The king, somewhat surprised to see an old soldier instead of another dashing prince, nonetheless granted him permission to try, instructing his guards to prepare a room for the soldier, right next to the princess's own bedchamber. That evening, as twilight painted the sky in hues of soft lavender and sleepy rose, the soldier was led to his chamber. It was a comfortable room, with a plush bed and a window looking out onto the quiet castle gardens. Soon after, as the castle settled into its evening rhythm, the eldest princess, with her graceful movements and a charming smile, entered his room carrying a silver goblet. Inside, a rich, dark red wine shimmered, promising a night of deep, peaceful slumber, just as the old woman had warned. The eldest princess, her eyes sparkling with a hint of mischief, offered the soldier the goblet, saying, "Here, brave sir, a warm drink to help you rest after your long journey." The soldier, remembering the old woman's words, accepted the wine with a polite bow, but he was careful. He pretended to take a long, hearty sip, bringing the goblet to his lips, but in truth, not a single drop passed them. Instead, he subtly tilted the cup, letting the dark liquid trickle away into a hidden sponge he had tucked into his sleeve, or perhaps onto the soft carpet in a shadowed corner. He then thanked the princess warmly, assuring her that he felt quite sleepy already. Later, after the princesses had bid him good night and closed the door, the soldier lay down on his bed, pulling the covers up to his chin. He let out a few soft, exaggerated snores, deep and rumbling, to make sure the princesses, who were surely listening from their room, would believe he was fast asleep, dreaming sweet dreams, and entirely unaware of their secret plans for the night. He continued his theatrical snores, deep and rhythmic, for what felt like a long, long time, until the castle was utterly silent, save for the gentle whisper of the night wind. He listened intently, his ears perked, for any sound from the princess's chamber next door. Finally, when the moon cast long, silvery shadows through the window, and the air grew cool and still, he heard a faint stirring, a soft rustle of silken gowns, a hushed murmur of voices, like tiny little birds chatting in a nest. Then he heard a very distinct tap, 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 a sound both delicate and firm. It came from the eldest princess's bed, a soft thud against the wooden floor. He imagined her graceful hand reaching down, searching for a hidden spring or a secret latch. He held his breath, his heart beating a quiet rhythm, eager to see what magic would unfold before his very eyes. The anticipation was like a soft, buzzing hum in the quiet room. And then, to his amazement, he heard a soft, creaking groan, not unlike a sleepy old oak tree stretching its branches. The eldest princess's bed, to his wonder, slowly began to slide away, revealing a dark, shadowy opening in the floor beneath it. It was an underground passage, a secret tunnel waiting to be explored, a hidden doorway to their mysterious world. One by one, the 12 princesses, dressed in their most beautiful gowns, shimmering with soft colors, stepped gracefully into the opening. Their movements were light and quick, their faces alight with an excited glow, like fireflies ready for a nighttime dance. The soldier, watching from his bed with wide, curious eyes, knew this was his moment. He quietly slipped out from under his covers, his movements as silent as a falling feather, and quickly wrapped himself in the magical invisible cloak. The moment the soft fabric settled around him, he felt himself disappear, becoming unseen and unheard, a silent shadow in the night. With the invisible cloak draped securely around him, making him completely unseen, the soldier followed the princesses. He was careful to step softly, his feet barely touching the cool, earthy floor of the passage, ensuring not a single sound betrayed his presence. The air in the tunnel was cool and damp, carrying the faint scent of earth and old stone, and though it was dark, the princesses seemed to know their way by heart, moving with a confident, joyful haste. They walked on and on, deeper into the earth, their soft slippers making only the faintest whisper on the hidden path. After a while, a soft, shimmering light began to appear ahead, growing brighter with every step, like tiny stars beckoning them onward. The passage gradually sloped upwards, and soon they emerged from the darkness into a truly magical place, a wondrous forest unlike any the soldier had ever seen. It was a forest not of ordinary trees, but of something far more precious and enchanting. The first forest they entered was a breathtaking spectacle of pure silver. Every single tree, from its gnarled roots to its highest branches, glittered and gleamed as if spun from moonlight itself. The leaves were like tiny, polished silver coins, tinkling softly with the slightest breath of wind, creating a delicate, chiming music that filled the air. The grass beneath their feet shimmered with silver dew, sparkling like a million tiny diamonds, and the entire world seemed to be bathed in a soft, luminous glow. The princesses, their eyes wide with delight, walked through this magical grove, their gowns reflecting the silvery light, making them look like ethereal spirits dancing among the trees. The soldier, utterly captivated by the beauty, knew he needed proof. With the softest, most careful touch, he snapped off a small, delicate branch from one of the silver trees, tucking it gently into his pocket. It made a faint bell-like sound, a sweet, clear chime in the quiet night, but the princesses, lost in their joy, didn't seem to notice. They continued their journey through the wondrous silver forest, the tinkling sounds fading behind them as they pressed onward. Soon, they reached another magical grove, and this one was even more dazzling than the last. Here, every tree was made of gleaming gold, from the thickest trunk to the smallest twig. The leaves were like bright golden coins, shimmering with a warm, rich glow, as if bathed in everlasting sunshine. The air in this golden forest felt warm and joyful, and a gentle rustling sound, like thousands of tiny silk scarves brushing together, filled the space. The ground beneath was carpeted with golden moss that sparkled with a soft, inviting light. The princesses glided through, their laughter like tiny bells, their faces illuminated by the golden light. The soldier, marveling at the sheer beauty, carefully broke off a small, delicate branch from one of these golden trees, its warmth lingering in his fingers for a moment before he tucked it away, a silent testament to this enchanting place. He knew this proof would be essential for the king. Leaving the shimmering golden forest behind, the princesses hurried along, their excitement building with every step. The soldier, still cloaked in invisibility, followed closely, his heart filled with wonder at the sights he was witnessing. They soon arrived at the third and most magnificent forest of all. Here, the trees were not of ordinary wood, nor silver, nor gold, but of radiant, sparkling diamonds. Every branch, every leaf, every tiny bud was a facet of pure, glittering crystal, catching the moonlight and scattering it into 1,000 tiny rainbows. The entire forest blazed with an icy, brilliant light, like 1,000,000 stars fallen to earth. It was almost too dazzling to look at, and the air here felt crisp and cool, filled with a silent, breathtaking magic. The soldier, astonished by the sheer brilliance, carefully reached out and snapped off a tiny diamond-encrusted twig, its sharp edges glinting even in the dim light. He tucked it safely away, his pocket now holding 3 extraordinary pieces of proof, each one a whisper of the enchantment he was experiencing. After passing through the breathtaking diamond forest, their magical journey was nearing its next destination. The princesses, their eyes shining with eager anticipation, quickened their pace, their steps light and buoyant. The soldier, still a silent shadow, found it a little harder to keep up, his old legs not as swift as their youthful ones, but his determination kept him moving. Soon, the shimmering trees gave way to a wide, moonlit clearing. In the center of this clearing lay a beautiful, still lake, its surface like a sheet of dark, polished glass, reflecting the stars above. And there, waiting patiently by the shore, were 12 handsome princes, their faces kind and their smiles warm, each standing beside a small, elegant boat. The boats, too, seemed to be made of something magical, perhaps polished wood, that gleamed softly in the moonlight, ready to carry the princesses across the tranquil water to their secret dancing place. A soft, joyful murmur arose from the princesses as they spotted their waiting companions. With delighted gasps and soft giggles, each princess quickly chose a handsome prince, her heart fluttering with anticipation for the night of dancing ahead. They gracefully stepped into the waiting boats, the polished wood creaking gently under their weight. The princesses, with strong and steady hands, took up their oars, dipping them silently into the dark, shimmering water. The soldier, still invisible, quickly found a spot in the last boat, tucking himself carefully into the stern, where he could observe everything without being detected. The lake was calm and peaceful, and the boats glided smoothly across its surface, leaving soft ripples that spread outwards like whispers. The air was filled with the gentle lapping of water against the boats, the hushed voices of the princesses and princes, and the sweet scent of night-blooming flowers carried on the breeze. It was a dreamy, enchanted voyage under the watchful gaze of the silent, silver moon, carrying them closer to their joyful destination. As the boats carried them across the tranquil lake, a soft, luminous glow appeared on the far shore, growing brighter and more inviting with every stroke of the oars. It was the most dazzling castle the soldier had ever imagined, shimmering like a dream against the dark night sky. Its towers seemed to reach up to touch the very stars, and its windows sparkled with a warm golden light, promising music and laughter. The air began to vibrate with a faint, joyful melody, a tune that made one's feet itch to dance, a soft, inviting rhythm that pulled them closer. When they finally reached the shore, the princesses gently helped the princesses disembark, their faces alight with pure happiness. The soldier, ever watchful and unseen, slipped out of the boat right behind them, his heart quickening with excitement. He knew he was about to witness the true heart of the princess's secret, the place where all their nighttime adventures unfolded, the source of their magically worn-out shoes. Stepping onto the castle grounds, the princesses and princes hurried towards the grand entrance of the dazzling castle, their steps light and eager. As they entered, the music swelled, filling the air with a joyful, enchanting melody played by an invisible orchestra. The grand ballroom was a sight to behold, vast and opulent, with high ceilings adorned with intricate carvings, and walls draped in rich, silken tapestries that shimmered in the soft light of countless flickering candles. The floor, polished to a mirror-like shine, beckoned them to dance. And dance they did. The 12 princesses, each paired with her handsome prince, whirled and twirled, their beautiful gowns swirling around them like colorful clouds. They laughed and spun, their faces flushed with happiness, their worries forgotten in the sheer joy of movement. The soldier, hidden by his cloak, watched from a quiet corner, observing every graceful step, every delighted smile, every joyous spin. He could almost feel the vibrant energy of their dance, the sheer happiness that filled the magnificent hall as they danced with boundless energy. Hour after hour, the dancing continued without a pause, a whirlwind of joy and movement. The princesses and their princes danced tirelessly, their energy seemingly endless, as if fueled by the magical music and the sheer delight of the night. The soldier, quietly observing from his hidden spot, noticed that the princess's delicate dancing shoes, which had looked pristine earlier, were gradually showing signs of wear. First, the satin began to dull. Then the tiny sparkles started to fade, and soon the thin soles began to scuff and fray. Their happy faces showed no sign of fatigue, only pure, unadulterated bliss. At one point, as the youngest princess whirled past him, her light step carrying her close to his invisible form, he accidentally, ever so gently, stepped on the hem of her flowing gown. She stumbled for a tiny moment, her laughter turning into a surprised gasp. "Oh dear," she exclaimed, looking down at her dress. "Someone has stepped on my gown. It must have been a branch from one of the enchanted trees." The soldier held his breath, grateful that his invisible cloak had kept him hidden and that she had found a plausible explanation for the brief, unexpected tug. The night wore on, and the princesses danced with such joyful abandon that their shoes, once perfectly new, were by now completely worn out, their soles thin and riddled with holes, just as the king found them every morning. The first hints of dawn, a soft, pale light, began to appear in the eastern sky, signaling that their magical night was drawing to a close. With sighs of happy exhaustion, the music slowly faded, and the princesses, their faces still glowing with the memory of their delightful dance, bid their princely companions a fond farewell. They made their way back to the waiting boats, their steps a little heavier now, but their hearts still full of joy. The soldier, who had watched every moment, discreetly followed them, slipping back into the last boat as silently as he had arrived. The journey back across the lake and through the enchanted forests felt a little quieter, the magic settling into a peaceful hush as the night gave way to the approaching day. As the princesses and the soldier, still invisible, retraced their steps through the diamond, gold, and silver forests, the magical glow of the trees seemed to dim slightly with the approaching dawn, as if preparing for a day's rest. They moved with a soft weariness, their earlier exuberance replaced by a contented quietness. Finally, they reached the secret underground passage, slipping back into its cool, earthy embrace. One by one, they climbed back up into their bedchamber, their movements careful and hushed. The eldest princess gently tapped her bed, and it slid silently back into place, concealing the secret passage once more. Just as the first golden rays of the sun began to peek through the castle windows, painting the room with soft light, the soldier, quick and silent as a whisper, slipped back into his own bed. He pulled the covers up, closed his eyes, and pretended to be in a deep, peaceful sleep, just as he had done the night before, his pocket still holding the precious, sparkling evidence of their adventure. This wonderful ritual repeated itself for 2 more nights, just as the king had commanded for the challenge. Each evening, the soldier feigned sleep, expertly pouring away the wine, and then, cloaked in invisibility, followed the 12 beautiful princesses down into their secret passage. He watched them glide through the enchanted forests of silver, gold, and diamond, their beauty shining brighter than the jewels around them. He saw them cross the still lake with their handsome princes and dance with joyous abandon in the dazzling castle until their delicate shoes were utterly worn out. And each morning, before the sun had fully risen, he would slip back into his bed, pretending to be fast asleep, his pockets now holding new, fresh evidence from the magical groves. On the second night, he carefully snapped off another tiny golden branch, and on the third, a third glittering diamond twig, making sure to collect fresh proof to present to the king. His heart hummed with quiet satisfaction, knowing he had carefully and patiently uncovered the truth. Finally, the morning of the third and final day arrived, filled with the soft promise of a new beginning. The castle awoke with a gentle hum, and the king, his face etched with both worry and a glimmer of hope, sent for the old soldier. He sat on his throne, his royal robes a deep blue, and watched as the soldier approached, a quiet dignity in his stride. The king asked him, his voice kind but firm, "Well, my dear soldier, have you discovered the secret of my daughter's worn-out shoes?" The soldier, with a respectful bow, looked up at the king, his eyes twinkling with a gentle knowing. He reached into his pocket and one by one carefully placed the precious pieces of evidence onto a velvet cushion, the shimmering silver branch, the radiant golden branch, and the sparkling diamond twig. Each piece glittered in the morning light, undeniable proof of his incredible journey. The king gasped, his eyes wide with amazement as he gazed upon the magical tokens. Then, in a clear, gentle voice, the soldier began to tell his incredible story, recounting every detail of his 3 nights' adventure. He spoke of the secret passage under the eldest princess's bed, the journey through the enchanted forests, where trees of silver, gold, and diamond sparkled with a wondrous light, and how he had carefully snapped off a small branch from each as proof. He described the tranquil lake, the waiting princesses and their elegant boats, and the dazzling castle where the princesses danced joyously until their shoes were completely worn out. He even mentioned the tiny moment he accidentally stepped on the youngest princess's dress, and how she thought it was a branch. As he spoke, the 12 princesses, who had been listening with nervous anticipation, knew their secret had finally been brought to light. Their faces turned a soft blush, and with gentle whispered voices, they confessed that every word the soldier spoke was true. They admitted to their nightly escapades, their love for dancing, and their secret pathway to the magical world. The king, listening to the soldier's remarkable tale and hearing his daughter's honest confession, felt a wave of relief and gratitude wash over him. The long-standing mystery that had puzzled his kingdom for so long was finally solved, and his heart was filled with a quiet joy. He looked at the old soldier, his eyes shining with appreciation, for this brave and clever man had succeeded where so many others had failed, and had done so with gentle wisdom and quiet determination. True to his word, the grateful king awarded the soldier the magnificent kingdom, with all its beautiful lands and its gentle people, to rule with fairness and kindness. And, as promised, he gave the soldier the hand of the eldest princess, the graceful leader of her sisters, as his bride. She too had come to admire the soldier's quiet strength and cleverness, and accepted his hand with a soft smile. The mystery of the 12 dancing princesses was finally brought to light, ending the secret adventures and ushering in a new, happy chapter for everyone in the kingdom. And so the old soldier, now a wise and respected king, lived happily ever after with his beloved eldest princess, surrounded by the joy and laughter of their family. The castle, once filled with a curious mystery, now hummed with contented peace. The enchanted forests and the dazzling castle where the princesses danced remained a beautiful memory, a secret whisper of magic in the heart of the kingdom. Sometimes, when the moon was full and the night was still, the gentle rustle of leaves or the faint glimmer of silver might remind someone of the wondrous tale, a story of quiet bravery and the joy of a secret dance. The other 11 princesses, too, found their own happy paths, perhaps still dreaming of moonlight dances, but now with open hearts, no longer needing to hide their nightly joys. The air around the castle settled into a soft, comforting quiet, a lullaby whispered by the gentle night breeze, carrying with it the sweet scent of peaceful slumber. And now, my dear little one, as the moon softly watches over our world, and the stars begin to twinkle like tiny, sleepy eyes, it's time for you to close your own. The adventures of the dancing princesses and the clever soldier have come to a peaceful end, just as your day is gently winding down. Let your own dreams be as colorful and joyful as those enchanted forests, filled with soft light and happy whispers. You are safe and warm, tucked in your cozy bed, with sweet thoughts dancing in your mind. Rest your head, dear one, and let your breathing be as slow and steady as the quiet boats gliding across the moonlit lake. Good night, my sweet child. Sleep tight, and may your dreams be filled with all the gentle magic of a fairy tale. And that is the end of our story. Thank you for listening to Go Readling Bedtime Stories. If you enjoyed this story, press the subscribe button so you never miss a new bedtime story. We publish a brand new story every single day. Visit goreadling.com for more stories, reading adventures, and fun learning for kids. Sweet dreams, little one. Good night.